जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा वनचारी जयो राधा माधव जय कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी श्री राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय गिरि गोवर्धन जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानिताई जय गौरानिताई निताई गौर हरि बोल निताई गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि बोल। Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajakacarya Shri Shri Ashtotara Shri Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So good morning everybody, Hare Krishna, and welcome to this session of Srimad Bhagavatam. We are going to be reading from Srila Prabhupada Leela Amrita first. So am I on the right page, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. You can start from sitting cross-legged from there.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sitting cross-legged, his back to the shelf with his assortment of potted plants, the whitish chadara wrapped in wide, loose folds across his body, Prabhupada looked grave, almost sorrowful. The picture and an accompanying article appeared in the June issue of the Village Voice. The article read, "The meeting of the mystical West and practical East comes alive in the curious contrast between A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami and his American disciples. The Swami, a cultivated man of 70 with a distinguished education, is here for a year to preach his gospel of peace, goodwill, nearness to God, and more practically, to raise money for his American church. Like his teachings, the Swami is sensible and direct. His main teaching is that mankind may come closer to God by reciting his holy name. Despite the fact that the Swami came to America to seek out the root of godless materialism, a disease, he said, that has already enveloped India. He is a realistic man. If there is any place on earth with money to build a temple, it is here. The Swami wishes to found in America an international society for Krishna consciousness, which will be open for anyone, including women." The article had been written by Howard Smith. He had first heard of the Swami by a phone call from a contact who had told him of an interesting holy man from India living in a loft in the Bowery. "Go there any time," Howard's contact had told him. "He's always there. I think you'll find it fascinating. I believe he's about to start a major religious movement." Howard Smith. So I went down there and went upstairs into this very funky artist's loft. There were carpets all over the place, old and worn out, and a lot of people sitting around in various kinds of hippie garb, plus what I think they must have thought was Indian garb. Most of them were sitting alone around the room, facing the wall like they had nothing to do with each other. They're sitting cross-legged, and each one seemed to be doing something different. Nobody paid attention to me when I walked in. I saw shoes lined up, and I thought maybe I'm supposed to take off my shoes, but nobody said anything to me. So I walked around the edge of the carpet, looking for somebody to pay attention to me. I wondered what was going on, and I did not want to interrupt anybody because they all seemed deep into whatever kind of prayers they were doing. In the back of the loft, I noticed a little curtain, an Indian Madras type of curtain. And so I decided I'd peer into that area. I looked in, and there was Swami Bhaktivedanta sitting there cross-legged in saffron garments, with the markings on his forehead and nose and his hands in the bead bag. Even though he looked like the real thing, he seemed more approachable. And I said, "Hello." And he looked up. I said, "Swami Bhaktivedanta?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "I'm Howard Smith." I was expecting to sit down, so I said, "Excuse me, I have to take off my shoes." And he said, "Why do you want to take off your shoes?" I said, I don't know. I saw all the shoes out there." And he said, "I didn't ask you to take your shoes off." I said, "What are all those people out there doing?" And he said, "I don't know." And they don't know what they're doing. I'm trying to teach them. And they seem to be misunderstanding me. They're very confused people. Then we sat and talked and I liked him a lot right away. I mean, I'd met a lot of other Swamis, but I didn't like them too much. I don't think it's fair to lump them all together and say those Swamis in India because he was very, very basic. And that's what I seemed to like about him. He not only made me feel at ease, but he seemed to be very open and honest, like he asked my advice on things. He was very new in the country. I thought his idea stood a good chance of taking hold because he seemed so practical. His head didn't seem in the clouds. He wasn't talking mysticism every third word. I guess that is where his soul was at. But that isn't where his normal conversational consciousness was at. Then he said several people had told him that the voice would be a very good place to be written up, and that basically it would reach the kind of people who already perhaps had a leaning on or interest in what he was preaching. And I said that I thought he was correct. He asked me if I had read any books or knew anything about Indian culture, and I said no. I didn't really. We talked a little, and he explained to me that he had these books in English, that he had already translated in India, and he handed those to me and said, if you want more background, you can read these. It was obvious to me that I was not talking to some fellow who had just decided that he had seen God and was going to tell people about it. He seemed to be an educated man, much more than myself, actually. And I liked his humbleness. I just plain liked the guy. He explained everything I wanted to know, the significance of what he was wearing, the mark on his forehead, the bead bag, and I liked all his explanations. Everything was very practical. Then he talked about temples all over the world and he said, well, we've got a long way to go, but I'm very patient. So I'll stop here, Prabhu. Is that fine?
Yes, Madhuri, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What beautiful piece of reading it was. So our reading for today from Srimad Bhagavatam is from Canto 4, Chapter 24, and the verse number is 69. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridyantasto hi abhadrani vidhunoti sruhit satam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So, so our verse today is verse number 69 from chapter 24. Chapter 24 is the chanting, the song sung by Lord Shiva. Idam japata bhadram vo vishuddha nripanandanaha swadharmam anutishtanto bhagavati arpitashayah. Idam japata bhadram vo vishuddha nripanandanaha swadharmam anutishtanto bhagavati arpitashayah. Idam japata bhadram vo vishuddha nripanandanaha swadharmam anutishtanto bhagavati arpitashayah. Are there any volunteers who would like to read or who would like to recite this verse?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I am trying.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Idam japata bhadram vo vishuddhani panandanaha sadharmam anutishtanto bhagavato arpita shayaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Anybody
Mataji.
else? Yes, Mataji.
Idam japat bhadrambo vishuddha nipanandanaha swadharma manutishtanto bhagavatyar pitashayah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Mataji, can I try?
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Idam japata bhadrambo vishuddha nripanandanaha sadharmam manusishtanto bhagavati arpitashayah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Idam japata bhadrambho vishuddha nripanandanaha sadharmam anutishthanta bhagavati arpitas bhagavat arpita shaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I please try?
Yes, please try, Mataji.
Idam japata bhadram vo vishuddha nripanandana swadharmanutishtanto bhagavate arpitashaya.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Hare Krishna, the verse is such beautiful. We can read the synonyms and translation and purport. Synonyms, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Idam, this, Japata, while chanting, Bhadram, all auspiciousness, Va, all of you, Vishuddhaha, purified, Nripanandanaha, the sons of the king, Swadharmam, one's occupational duties, Anutishtantaha, executing, Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arpita, given up, Ashayaha, possessing all kinds of faithfulness. Translation: My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune. For the Lord will be much pleased with you, very much pleased with you. Is there any volunteer who would like to read the purport? Okay.
Hare
Should
Krishna
I?
Mataji. I can read it if you like.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
A purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The prayers offered by Lord Shiva are very authoritative and significant. Simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, one can become perfect, even though engaged in his occupational duty. The real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord. It doesn't matter where one is situated, whether one is Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, American, Englishman, Indian, etc. One can execute devotional service anywhere and everywhere in the material existence simply by offering prayers unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also a prayer, for a prayer addresses the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his name and invokes good fortune by petitioning the Lord to allow one to engage in devotional service. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra also says, My dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord Rama, O energy of the Lord, Hare, kindly engage me in your service. Although one may be situated in a lowly position, he can execute devotional service under any circumstances. As stated, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. It's Bhagavatam 1-6. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended the process Gyane Prayasham Upasho Namanto Eva Jivanti Shan Mukharitam Bhavadda Bhartam Sthane Sthita Shruti Gatam Tanubhan Manovir Ye Prayasho Ajita Jitopi Vashitois Toi Lokyam. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-3. One may remain situated in his own place or in his own occupational duty and still lend his ear to receive the message of the Lord from realized souls. Sri Krishna, the Krishna conscious movement is based on this principle, and we are opening center all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So before we get into Prabhupada's analysis of the purport, let's ask for some knowledge and light into this matter. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bir Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So again, welcome everybody. I'll just repeat the translation and I'll stop sharing the screen. This is from these are all the instructions of Lord Shiva, and this translation is or this verse is said by Lord Shiva from the chanting, the song sung by Lord Shiva. So he's making some prayers, and here he's talking to the kings. He's talking to the Prachetas. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duty as kings with a pure heart. Just chant this prayer, fixing your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. So in this section, this is the section 69 from verses 69 to 79 are the concluding section by Lord Shiva. And here, as usual, after every prayer, there's this Falashruti. And because of this, because in this, the Lord says that Lord Shiva says that will bring you good fortune. So after reciting this Rudra Gita, this is for all of us, that when we recite Rudra Gita, what happens? It brings us all good fortune and the Lord will be very much pleased. Now, he's not talking about himself here as the Lord will be very much pleased. He's talking about Lord Krishna, who will be very much pleased, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who will be very much pleased. So the two things that have come up for me was pure heart and fixing your mind. So how to chant Rudra Gita, verses 69 to 71 talk about how to chant Rudra Gita. In the next 2-3 verses, we'll know that to achieve auspiciousness. Now, 69 specifically instructs the glories of chanting and performing prescribed duties with pure hearts, offering our minds to the Lord and chant this prayer. So here the statement, perform or execute your occupational duty as kings, or perform your prescribed duties. This indicates that the Prachetas have or had karma mishra bhakti. They're not pure devotees yet. But with this instruction, we get to know that from Lord Shiva, we get to know the glories of chanting. In this verse, in the purport itself, when we read the purport, we find that the prayers offered by Lord Shiva are very authoritative and significant. And Karma Mishra Bhakti, in the next few lines, simply by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, one can become perfect. So even though engaged in his occupational duty, so this is an instruction for us, because we are engaged in our occupational duties as this and that, and as a householder, or as a brahmachari, or whatever position or situations we are in, as in our different occupations, so as a brahmana or a kshatriya or a vaishya or a shudra. And this is where the real purpose, although Srila Prabhupada says that although the real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord, and it does not matter where one is situated. So it does not matter what position we are in, what is our position or situation we are in. Prabhupada analyzes this by recommending to us that we offer prayers in whatever position, whatever situation we are in. Does not matter. Because the same thing, Lord Shiva has actually cleared it up. And in this, Srila Prabhupada is not telling us to recite Rudra Gita, because he knows that we are not competent enough to go via like that. So he's given us a direct route to go back to Godhead. And what is that direct route? The direct route is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also a prayer. For a prayer addresses the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his name and invokes good fortune by petitioning the Lord to allow one to engage in his devotional service. So what do we do with our daily chanting routine, or our offering prayers to the Lord? What do? We obviously, we all want good fortune with us. We want that we should be comfortably situated, and we want things to go smooth, because our mind is not that capable enough to take up the hurdles of life and then do devotional service at the same time. It's very stressful. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that it invokes good fortune. And this is a guarantee that when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it invokes. But the point here is, for a devotee, good fortune, bad fortune, these matter nothing, because the real purpose of life is to become a devotee of the Lord. So when we understand this part through this verse, we see that the glories of chanting. So Lord Shiva is instructing that chanting these prayers will be auspicious, bhadram, vishuddha, purified, that it does not matter what one's occupational duty is, sarvadharmam. you can still execute. Anutishtanto. What? You can still execute your occupational duties and chant these prayers with pure heart. All kinds of faithfulness. Now, pure heart here means all kinds of faithfulness, with all faithfulness, possessing all kinds of faithfulness, which means here that if our heart is pure, we will be able to perform anything with faithfulness. We'll be loyal. Ashraya, unto the Bhagavati, who unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So with pure heart and fixing our mind on the lotus feet, we can offer prayers to the Lord. And with this, the Lord, this first thing, it brings all good fortune. And the second thing, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. Ideally, the Lord will be pleased, therefore the good fortune will follow. So, so Prabhupada there again, Prabhupada analyzes that and he recommends us that we offer prayers in whatever position or situation we are in. So chanting is spiritual and positions and situations are material. So here chanting is beyond material platform. That's why our positions don't matter. That's why this process of chanting is for everyone. Srila Prabhupada says that by birth we are all Shudras. And can anyone just give a glimpse of what actually Shudra means?
Shudra means who is doing the service for the other people, like
Yes.
doing the services.
Yes.
And being in work position, we are also doing services for other people. So in that sense, being into jobs and occupational duties, being slaves, we are considered as Shudras.
Yeah, so when we are born as Shudras means we're not born with any Brahmanical qualities, or we need instructions, and those instructions are needed. These instructions are needed to take us to that Brahmanical level of to develop those Brahmanical qualities. Shudra means you're not born with any quality that would directly put us in devotional service. Basically, we need instructions to reach to that kind of level. So chanting is the way. So basically, it's very interesting to see that chanting is the beginning and chanting is the end. It's not that when we chant, in the later stages of our devotional service, we stop chanting. Chanting is a beginning and chanting is the end. We can see that from the positions and situations point of view. There's this very beautiful example from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Jharkhand Leela explains how our bodily status does not define our position. Our constitutional position is we are eternal servants of the Lord, and therefore we are spiritual. In that Leela, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is singing or chanting the glories of the Lord through Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and all living entities are in ecstasy. And in Krishna's Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's first instruction to every one of us is, we are not this body, but we are this body to perform spiritual activities. Now, Srila Prabhupada also says that we are not this body, but we are this body. Why? To perform this the spiritual activities. We cannot really, without this body, we cannot do anything. So we need a body to do something. Therefore, we've got this with great good fortune. We have got this human body, where it has this intelligence and the consciousness, higher consciousness to perform spiritual activities. So aren't we really fortunate to be getting this human form and be able to perform devotional service And that's the best form of you. That's the best purpose. The real purpose of life is to become the devotee of the Lord. Aren't we blessed? Also, Srila Prabhupada in the purport also talks about chanting. Srila Prabhupada is not recommending us to recite or learn Rudra Gita. If we can do it's good, but he's immediately establishing the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, we're coming to a very interesting part of our chanting. Let's admit, I am not really pure at heart, and therefore my heart is not attached to chanting. So what is the reason? Why our hearts are not attached to chanting? What might be the reason? Would anybody like to participate in that?
We are in conditional state.
Yes, we're in conditional state.
And we are in illusion. Think
Yes.
about our material body.
Yeah, material body. So what is our 10th offense? The 10th offense says, as long as
Offense.
the 10th offense talks about, as long as we have the material attachments of receiving satisfaction that our false egos is demanding from us. I am. This is false ego. I am not the servant of Krishna. I am not this soul. And apart from this, I am everything. This is what false ego is demanding from us. And we keep committing the 10th offense in this, because the 10th offense says that we still maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. Therefore, our heart is not prepared to receive the full benefit that the holy name offers. That's why we tend to commit that, because our hearts are not pure, and pure hearts, because our hearts are not pure, the reason for our hearts not being pure is maintaining material attachments. But before that, why do we even chant? We chant. The purpose of chanting is to reconnect with, chanting is a process. The process to reawaken our forgotten relationship with Krishna. This means as long as we are in the material attachment state, we're always attracted to something which is, like Mataji said, illusion, which is not the real purpose. We're just, wasting our time. So chanting is a process to reawaken our forgotten relationship with Krishna. So isn't it a deep down prayer? With that prayerful mood, can we appreciate with deep contemplation that Krishna and Krishna's names, they're non-different from each other, and Krishna is very merciful. How? Because he's extended himself into the material world by giving us this holy name. This is a prayer. This is an appreciation. In the prayerful mood, if we are able to receive this, our hearts may become purified. So the secret of engaging our heart is to see the experience, the chanting, as ever new and ever fresh. So why we're not able to take this? Because we have become really over familiar. Let's go to our examples, our lives. I don't know about others, so others may be in a very good platform here. But I remember when I just started, chanting, I was really, enthusiastic, and I wanted to read and I wanted to chant, and every mantra that I used to recite was very new, and it felt really different. But with time, with the mechanical approach towards our lives, which is not just in chanting, but in other things as well, we become over familiar and complacent. And it's not just limited to chanting. Our over familiarity or complacency is not just limited to chanting, but chanting being the topic and chanting being the most required or the most needed activity or process to be able to connect with Krishna. For example, what happens when we are over familiar or we're complacent? We become really inattentive or distracted. Now, the research says that most of the accidents on roads happen because of distraction. We can remember our first lesson in driving where we could not even distract anywhere out of the car except for the traffic and this and that, and we follow every rule and regulation. The moment we become really familiar to the system of the car or the same roads that we are traveling or commuting every day or whatever, it's easy for us to use multiple things like the phone while driving or turning off the video, the music or aircon or whatever. So these are the distractions. We're not really focused on driving. Now, these accidents happen because of distraction. Accidents happen because of distractions, which means that most of the accidents are by experienced drivers. So we actually stop seeing the blind spots. The same goes true with our chanting as well. Our blind spots of distraction, of being over familiar. And anytime when we get over familiar, like familiarity breeds contempt. Anytime we are over familiar with something, we kind of lose it, So therefore, the process of chanting, when we do it really mechanical way, initial stages we feel grateful, but through mechanical approach, we become really complacent. It's not just chanting, it's with everything. It's deity worship or cooking for the Lord or anything. So attentiveness is something which the heart requires. So just let's think of an example here where the heart is involved. The heart can only be involved when there is a desire to do something, and so it's a kind of interlinked situation where we want to do something, so my heart is there, and following that my mind will be there. So attentiveness, because of inattentiveness, we are distracted. We are distracted because our heart is not involved. So the heart can be involved when there's something attentive for the heart to do. And what is that attentiveness that the heart requires? The heart requires those realizations and those beautiful pastimes of the Lord. Why? Because most of the time in philosophy, our heart is not involved. But most of the time in the pastimes of Krishna, our heart is involved. And if you're not grateful, and if you're not eager to receive, how? Not in an intense or prayerful endeavor of humility, calling out to Krishna, in that mood, it is very difficult to involve our heart in something. Let's take an example of a child who wants to pass his exams, and he prayerfully tells Krishna or tells his deities, I've tried my best and I really want to pass this, or I really want this, because his heart is there. So it's very intense. In the moments of distress, this can be taken as an example that in the moments of distress, our heart is totally into it, and we are intense and we are grateful, and we are praying with all our heart to fulfill that heart's desire, and we're eager to receive that benefit. Or so when we call out to Krishna in a helpless manner, in the mood where Krishna, I'm nothing, when we know that I'm nothing and it's not in my control, and Krishna, you are the only one who can give this mercy, this tendency of humility means not having pride of oneself, not being proud of oneself. So Srila Prabhupada here advises that there's no need in the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, there's no need to use the mind. Just call out in helplessness. We don't even need to know the meaning. In one of his translations of the Mahamantra, in one of the videos, he mentions that there's no need. The transcendental vibration is so pure and so intense, and it's so important, or it's so valuable, that without even knowing the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it works. Just by chanting inattentively, it works so much on us. So we can well imagine that if we chant attentively, how or what benefits we would find. So Krishna is just calling out Krishna in helplessness. Krishna's mercy will follow. So then where is our problem? The problem is our false ego, which is so full of material attachments that it just does not know where to end. So in that case, when the heart is attentive to something, the mind will surrender. Like if you're doing something really interesting and our heart is in it, our mind automatically focuses on that. It just does not want disturbance. It's just well focused on one task. So how can we offer our mind to the Lord? Because mind, Arjuna has said, and Krishna admitted that mind is really chanchala, it's really obstinate, it's flickering, it's this and that. But then it's difficult to offer our minds to the Lord, because first we have so many material attachments that we are carrying, and we are all distracted and not attentive, and we're not having that pure heart because we're not interested. The heart, the investment of the heart is needed to control the mind, so that we can offer the pure heart and offering our mind to the Lord. So offering our mind to the Lord is to know how to take shelter of the Lord. And in Shiksha Ashtakam, the third verse talks about that, how to take shelter of the Lord by continuously chanting through humility and tolerance, and not asking for respect, and giving respect to everybody. But there are the six points of surrender. Does anyone remember what those surrendering points are? And we lead our devotional life according to this 6 points of surrendering. Would anybody like to contribute to that, the 6 ways of surrender? Okay, so that's accepting everything favorable for discharging the devotional service, rejecting everything unfavorable, believing firmly in the Lord's protection, feeling exclusively dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And there is no other interest except Krishna, and always feel humble and meek. So these 6 points were accept everything favorable, reject everything unfavorable, understand that God is the maintainer and the protector, and no other interest except, there's no other interest except or separate. I must not say no other interest, because nothing is separate from Krishna. So whatever we are doing is our devotional service, because we are offering our minds and offering our hearts to Krishna. And if we do that, then automatically there's no sense of, I want it, I want it. So that's our level of surrender. Then when we offer our heart, our mind will automatically follow us. So that's why one may remain situated in his own place or his own occupational duty and still lend his ear. And the way to enter the heart, the way for the chanting to enter our heart is through ears. When we receive the message of the Lord, from whom? From the ones who have pure heart and who have offered their minds to Krishna, then the purification of the heart and offering of the mind takes place. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. The word here is consciousness. So heart and mind is where this consciousness comes from. And we are opening centers all over the world to give everyone a chance to hear the message of Lord Krishna in order to go back home, back to Godhead. Does not mean that we just be a member of ISKCON and then we just do whatever is needed to be part of ISKCON. Be happy in wearing devotional clothes, wearing tilak, and we'll be back to Godhead. No. A very important point here is mentioned that Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement is for us to become Krishna conscious. This means in whatever occupational position or situation, or in whatever varna or whatever ashram we are in, does not matter. What matters, or whatever bodily form we have, a male or female or whatever. In that case, nothing really matters when our consciousness, pure heart, and surrendered mind comes in place. Then our consciousness is where in our hearts and mind, where Krishna is there, we automatically becomes Krishna consciousness. So it was really, really beautiful verse by Srila Prabhupada's beautiful analysis. I was just thinking that, Rudra Gita is so, how can I just recite all these every day? And immediately, Srila Prabhupada is not wasting any time for us to keep engaged. He's just over and over emphasizing the same point. It may sound really boring to anyone. Like in most of the purports, Srila Prabhupada says chant, because that's the means and that's the end. So it's the beginning and the end. Therefore, as soon as we get into chanting with pure heart and surrendered mind, we are able to receive the benefits. So with this, I would like to pray to everybody to please bless me into this practice of having pure heart and surrendered mind, so that by your blessings, I can at least attempt to chant better. I am really in need of these prayers. It's my chanting and my reading of my understanding of these scriptures is very, very poor. So please bless me, all the Vaishnavas. With your blessings, I would like to stop here. And if there's any comments or any additions you want to make, please feel free. This is the time. Yeah, we have some time. Yep. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the nice class. And one thing I've learned, that as it is mentioned in this shloka, that whatever whatever uh, the profession one might be engaged in, whether he's a Brahmana or as a Kshatriya or a Shudra, it doesn't matter. And he can get perfection if he remain attached to the Lord and work, and all the activities he does, he considers himself that it is the Krishna has placed him in that position, and he is doing it as a service to the Lord. And if I can remember correctly, it is in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 45. It is mentioned that Sheshe Karmani Abhirata Samsiddhing Labhate Naro. That means the following the work, every man can become perfect. And in the next verse, it is also Jat Pravriti Bhutanangena Sarvamidam Tatam Shakarmana Tamabharcha Siddhing Bindodi Manavo. It also says that in by worshipping the Lord, because He is the source of everything and He is all pervading. If we consider our activity, what we are doing in this material world, if we are connected to the Lord and doing everything for the service of the Lord, in this way we can make our life also perfect. And that is what Lord Shiva is trying to place, that you should always remain connected with the Lord, and whatever we are doing, and we remain connected to the Lord. In the Prabhupada is told that that this Hare Krishna Mahamantra we chant, it is not a material thing. One should not think it's considered as an offense even, that if we think it is a material thing, it is it has come from the transcendental world. And Narottam Das Thakur has also told Harinam, whatever he has told about it is it has come from the transcendental world. So we should consider it, that is the way to connect to the Lord, and it is also a means and it is also the end. By doing it, as you have told, that we start with this and we finish with this, and if we stick to that, that is purifying, and at the same time ensures that we can go back, we can make our life perfect and can go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much. From this chapter 24, there's this verse that Srila Prabhupada has given extra comments on that. And so in verse number 24, any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature, as well as living entities, actually very dear to me. So very important point here is the devotee, Srila Prabhupada says, the devotee of Lord Shiva is not dear to Lord Shiva, but a devotee of Lord Krishna is very dear to Lord Shiva. This is such an interesting point. So while the Prachetas are going to do penance and to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shiva appears there before them and said that out of mercy he had shown himself to them. And Lord Shiva is explaining that why he was merciful to the Prachetas, because it's quite, and it's a rare darshan. Having Lord Shiva's darshan is very rare. We can't. Similarly, the pure devotees darshan is so rare. We understand that in our context as well. We don't get to see the pure devotees like every other day. It's so rare. And Lord Shiva openly proclaims that one who is a devotee of Lord Shiva, who is surrendered to the Lord, is very dear to him. And he's giving us instructions that, the Lord will be very pleased, very much pleased with you. So he's not, as I mentioned in the beginning, that he's not talking about that I will be pleased with you. He's saying the Lord will be very pleased with you, because the means, he's giving all these instructions so that we can surrender to the Lord. And even if we are direct worshippers of Lord Shiva, if we become the direct worshippers of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva will be very pleased with that, as like all the pure devotees will be pleased. So it's such a beautiful section. Anyone else? Okay, then we can conclude here if that's okay with everyone. Vanchaka. Yes.
I think there is no other person to make comments, so the class may be concluded. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
kripa
kripa
sindhubho
sindhubhya
eva
eva
cha
cha
patitanam
patitanam
pavanebhyo
pavanebhyo
vaishnavebhyo
vaishnavebhyo
namo namah. Ananta Koti
Koti
Vaishnav Vrinda
Vaishnavrinda
ki
ki jai.
Har Grace Radha Padma Mata Ji ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All grace to assembled devotees. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.